Thank you very much. So my name is Kaplan, and I'll be addressing multilateral approaches to stemming wildlife trafficking. The first thing to recognize is that there's a multilateral effort running in parallel to each of the three strategic priorities in the national strategy. These include strengthening enforcement, reducing demand for illegally traded wildlife, and building international cooperation, commitment, and public-private partnerships. The approach for our study was to articulate 7 functions that need to be addressed if the collection of intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations that work on wild trafficking are to be successful. And these include rulemaking and agenda setting, scientific monitoring of animal populations, intelligence gathering and law enforcement, and several others. Then we took a look at 10 major organizations, intergovernmental and non-governmental, and we tried, through interviews and document reviews, we tried to find challenges that are faced by multiple organizations. We looked for patterns in those challenges so that we could craft policy options that address systemic challenges. These are the organizations that we looked at. Like I said, intergovernmental and non-governmental. There were 7 intergovernmental organizations that we looked at and 3 non-governmental. And I'll just draw your attention to CITES, which is the Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species. And this is the group, or the treaty, and then the group that has its secretariat in Geneva, Switzerland. This is the group that defines what species and products can be traded legally and which are illegal. Some of the key challenges that we found include lack of information about species health and poaching incidents, limited finance, inadequate intelligence gathering and enforcement, limited state capacity, coordination problems among major organizations, and lack of information about demand and demand management. 3 of the policy options that are included in our report are first, that Congress could offer explicit support, including financial support, for the Technology and Innovation Fund, which is proposed by CITES. So this is a program proposed by CITES to give awards to the private sector, to companies that do research and development on techniques and technologies that assist in monitoring of poaching activities and trafficking. The second would be to incorporate wildlife concerns into authorizing and implementing legislation on international trade deals like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is under negotiation now. This is a place where the U.S. has substantial leverage to advance its policy interests. On the other hand, advancing wildlife interests will compromise, or may compromise, the U.S.'s other strategic interests. And finally, Congress could direct the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Department of State to convene a special task force for coordination and information dissemination among the major organizations. This would address a coordination problem that we found, or it could address that coordination problem. In 2005, there was the creation of the Coalition Against Wildlife Trafficking, which served this purpose, but has sort of run its course in pushing these policies, or in pushing this issue into the administration's agenda. But now there's sort of a void that's in this coordination role. And so the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Department of State could take up that cause. This may help with coordination issues. On the other hand, it would be one more body that needs to be included in coordination. So there are advantages and drawbacks to each of these policy options. Now I'm going to hand it off to Wade, who will talk to us about his partner.